Throughout my years of learning the Spanish language and culture, I have been taught that of the Latin American descent. Latin American Spanish refers to Castilian, which is spoken in the Americas, as opposed to European Spanish. Although I was completely aware that I would be going to school in Barcelona, Spain, I was not attentive to the fact that I would encounter much of a language barrier. The basic necessities for everyday living, such as ordering food, asking for a taxi, asking for directions, exchanging money, seeking medical attention, and just maintaining a basic conversation were all things that I knew I could do. I was confident in my stay here. But when I first arrived in Barcelona, I was taken back by how different Latin American Spanish was from the Catalan dialect. Catalan is a Romance language and is only spoken in Barcelona, the Balearic Islands, and in a city on an Italian island of Sardinia called Alghero. It is also spoken with no official recognition in a small part of southern France. I found out the hard way after accidentally calling my waitress an inappropriate name that the Latin American Spanish I know is very different from the Catalan dialect spoken in Barcelona. Another thing that makes understanding the language here difficult is their pronunciation of the letter C. The Spanish pronounce the letter C as se, and Catalans pronounce their C's with a hard TH, or th. Anyway, let's take a look at some basic differences in vocabulary and spellings. To say good morning in Spanish is buenos dias. In Catalan, it is bon dia. To say how are you in Spanish is como estás. In Catalan, it is com está. To say do you speak English in Spanish is habla inglés. In Catalan, it is parla anglés. Although I'm not a pro at pronunciation, you get the picture. There is quite a difference even in the very basics of Spanish. My friends believe that it is a completely different language and culture in itself. And well, actually, the entire country of Spain. When my friends and I arrived in Barcelona, we all went out to dinner to celebrate our first night being here. When we sat down to order, in Spanish, of course, the waitress immediately switched to English. At first, this was comforting, but then, as we continued our stay here, we found that our attempts to order, or ask for, or even just simply communicate in Spanish were immediately turned down and they would speak English. This constant language battle eventually became insulting. They would act rude to us, they would be short, and sometimes, at restaurants, they would charge us extra for food. Finally, I asked my teacher why Catalans seemed to dislike Americans, and his answer was, it's a culture issue. They feel like anyone who is not Catalan, especially Americans, who come to Barcelona are just here to have fun. It is almost as if they believe people are intruding on their culture and lifestyle. I understand the respect factor of the issue, but it was not my friends and I disrespecting them, it was them disrespecting us. So he further explained. After the Spanish Civil War, General Franco came to power, and Catalan was completely done away with. But after Franco's death, the Spanish transitioned to democracy and the adoption of a democratic Spanish constitution, Catalans recovered their culture. Because of their fight to restore and save their culture was such a struggle, they take great pride in it. Defending their culture and preserving their language is an everyday battle for Catalans. This was seen firsthand in Mallorca when my roommates and I paraded around in Barcelona jerseys after a loss to Madrid for the Copa del Rey. We were mocked and pushed around as we walked through the streets flooded with Madrid fans. At that moment, I understood Catalans' constant battle to defend their culture. Yes, I will admit, and from personal experience, I don't like the Catalan culture. But this is their culture. They have fought and fought and fought to keep the traditions and language alive. And we should respect that.